All right. Everybody here at Axon Maine Forge Memory, we do a lot of forging. We do a lot of axe throwing. And what I'm going to be doing, I'm finishing out 8 knife handles because in just a couple hours, I have a live auction on Facebook and I need these done so that I can make a living. Wow, imagine that concept, guys. Work for yourself, make your own money, be your own boss, be responsible for all the stress. Now, before we get going, be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification button because I can use all the help I can get on getting my name out there, guys. There is a link to my Etsy store, which I've just recently started up again. We're in the process of getting all that stocked. And there are some other links of interest: Iron Mountain Metalcraft, Forge Memory Family, and TurtleIslandPreserve.org. First thing I'm going to do, I'm actually going to go through and I'm going to clean up these handles. I'm going to rough them out, even them up. Then I'm going to go through and I'm going to smooth everything out and really start to see that grain. I'll finish it off with an oil coat and a reveal. I'll do the sharpening just a bit later because as it goes down, guys, on these brute to forge blades, on the rough forged, on the fine finished, the last step of the process is always sharpening, and that's for safety. I mean, a tip's one thing, sharp edge could be dangerous. Once more, be sure to like and subscribe. Let's get it going. I hope everybody's doing well, and we're going to be doing a fair amount of work here at the 2x72. Now, one of the things that I'm going to bring up, and it's quite simple here, is one, safety, and two, this is how I'm going to use up my worn belt. So I'm going to be relatively safe on this. No, I'm not going to be wearing a respirator as I probably should be, but the key to assembly lining is organization. And essentially that's what I'm going to be doing. And to do that, I'm going to show you an anvil technique. That's where I'm going to lay my knives on my anvil. Interesting anvil technique. You know, it's almost like every horizontal surface is a table. Potentially. And the reason I'm laying these out like this is so that I have essentially started a path to follow on this whole matter. So if you're trying to do several pieces at once, this is the way that you can do that, guys. I'm going to go ahead and get my safety goggles on that are covered in dust. And I'm going to find a pair of gloves. Here's a pair of gloves, and this is just so I don't slip, especially on one of these coarse belts, or if I do slip, it's a little safer. Gabe, how's it going? Thank you, Lane. Hope everyone's doing well. Once more, if you haven't liked and subscribed, be sure to do that. We're rolling on it. First thing I'm going to do, I'm going to even off my pommel, my butt cap here. Just like that. Next, I'm going to even it off on the profile. Make it seamless. Now you can see this is a before. Let's go for an after. Now that it looks nice and seamless, I'm going to go ahead and take down my edges here. right there. Well, thank you, Lane. Hope you're doing well. Same situation. Get down basically create a repetitive process and it'll move quite quickly. Keep in mind your tracking is critical at this point. Some people might tape their blade to protect it, and that's not a bad idea at all. But in this case, I think I can get by without it. Now this is the handle material is dyed and stabilized curly maple, and it actually looks really nice. It works easily. It is reasonably durable, visually appealing, and that's why I use a lot of that material. There you go, right there. Trim back that little notch right there. Looking good. Now these are all blades from one of my other videos. Actually, they're from several of my other videos where I was bulk forging blades out of file steel, out of spring steel, and so forth. And don't quote me on this, but this might be the last of those batches that I have to use up. So don't worry, I've got more blades coming. I know I've got a batch of 5160. And I've got 2 more sticks of it that I can get several more knife blades out of. Now notice that I'm staying consistent on my movements here. Also notice that this side is thicker than that side, so I need to work it down. One more to go after this. That's always the one you got to be cautious about, because a lot of times a person might lock the guard down because they see that finish line, so to speak. But hey, I'm almost there. I'm just about to top that ridge. I'm just about to achieve my goal, and then wham, right there. You get caught on something. Here we go. Now keep in mind, this is on finishing knife handles, and it's not about finishing blades. These are just rustic blades like I would have for festivals, like rendezvous, reenactments, and so forth. But I also sell a lot of them around the holidays, so I'm making a point to produce some more around the holidays. There you have it. All right, That's about as far as I'm really going on those 8 on that wheel, okay? So next step in the process is going to be swapping out and going to something that's a little bit lighter as far as finishing goes. So my belt is terrible at this point. And that's a great way to put it. It is terrible. Now, I'm going to be dealing with soft material, so I can go with a lighter used belt. And a lot of people say, why don't you throw those belts out? I don't throw them out yet because I still have some use in them. And that use is not for blades. It's not for blades at all. It is simply to be used and loaded up with handle material and with pewter. And I'm going to show you how I do that. So now I'm going to a worn 120. And I think I can probably do this by slacking it. Okay. Worn 120. Guys, let me show you what I've accomplished so far. Now you can see how this has all been worked down, and now we have smooth ends, reasonable transitions. If you haven't subscribed yet, be sure to do so. And time to get some grinders in. So now I'm primarily going to be working on smoothing out those sanding marks on the handle. Hey Pete.
Don woke up from her nap and we had
Oh, it's all good. Well guys, my cameraman Pete is here. Pete is in the house right there. Hey, so I'm going to hand this over to Pete and we'll go from there. I'll just hand you the stand and everything. So one, if you've got someone to run a camera, it makes things so much easier. Because one, I'll tell you what, Pete, I'm going to work around in this kind of area, like right over here where you're standing. I'm going to try from over here, that first. And what I'm going to do, I'm just going to start working these rough sides down. You can kind of see those grind marks and everything in that. I'm going to do that by under-slacking. And then I'm going to feel. And on some of these, there's still some adhesive. Well, that adhesive gets taken off with that belt. That one's ready to go to the next grip, but we got 7 more of these to do right here on the anvil. All right, this kind of scalper type right here. I'm actually going to do a top slack. Now you got to be cautious about this, keeping in mind my blades are not sharpened yet. As I clean up that grain, you'll notice that the grain of the wood becomes more and more evident. That's the buoyancy there. We'll do a couple passes on a couple different grits of surface conditioners and it'll smooth all that out. Right there we got that little weird looking, that's the best way I can put it. A little unusual shaped Skinner Hunter right there. And I'm cleaning up my flat.
Lane says, this is the best stream I've seen all day.
Very, very cool, and I appreciate that. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification button. Check out some of our other videos, but don't do it yet because we're live and I need an audience. So now you can see how that grain starts to become more evident the finer I go. Now, if I was doing this with if I was cleaning my blade down, these blades are going to be hammer marked and so forth. If I was cleaning my blade down, I'd start with like a 36 and go to a 60, an 80, a 120, a 220 perhaps, but 120 and then definitely my surface conditioner. So what I'm going to do on this one's relatively smooth on my handle, and you may be able to see that grain starting to pop. On this, I went from an 80 to a 120 because it's a softer material and I don't have to worry about getting out those heavy scratches near as much. Because it's softer, it's less abrasion resistant. And there you can see some of that banding, just some of that nice texture. Now I do see that I'm missing spots right here. I got them right there. And that's done by applying minimal pressure, applying a light pressure. Because if you apply too much, you will start digging ditches. The more scratches you get out, the more prominent your grain is, and it looks really awesome that way. These will be coming up for auction tonight. These are not going to be high dollar. Majority of these will start in the $75 range, and that'll be on Facebook tonight at 7:30 Central Time. You have to find me on Facebook. There is a link to my Etsy store. Now, I want to show you guys something. I just did a rotation sanding on this. And here you can still see adhesive, you can still see scratches, and that's where I come in and I do some underslash sanding.
Gabe Perky said, yo.
How's it going? And go back at you.
He said, good safety.
Well, thank you.
Lane said, sick workplace, bro.
I appreciate it. I really need to clean my work area right now, but I'm in a hurry to get this done. Now check that out. Now you can see where some of the dye didn't completely take. And that's often because it had a little bit of moisture deep down in there. Or maybe it needed to be pressured a second time. It's still going to make for an awesome knife. Alright, over halfway there. Isn't that part of a Bon Jovi song? Living on a Prayer? We're halfway there. Okay, so I can feel I've got a hot spot right here. And so it's a ridge. I'm going to go ahead, and since I already found that, I'll underslash just to take that down, just that quick. Now, so I'll be able to see my flat areas that need to be ground. I go ahead and I do my rotation for sanding right here. Keeping in mind that if this was a sharp blade, I definitely wouldn't be holding it with a bare hand. I would have it taped. I would be wearing gloves as well, probably. And there you can see some of the ridges. Once more, going in for an underslash grind. All right. Now I can feel a couple ridges right here. So what I'm going to do is go back. Do a quick rotation sand. Some people call these 2x72 belt sanders. These are belt grinders, man. They eat steel and they'll eat meat and bone just as much. Guys, that's looking pretty good to me. All right, 2 more to go. And then we'll be going to a finer grit. First thing I'm doing right here, I'm just feeling my handle. Is there anywhere I need to work on? There is actually, right up in here. You can see that there's a little bit of a gap. It's an overhang, so I'm going to clean that real quick. Clean that up. Then we go into that rotation process. Keeping in mind this is a worn 120 that I would not use for steel, but it works just fine to load up and then discard after use for my handles. Looking pretty good, but I do have some rough areas right in here. Once more we go under slack. Looking good there. Got a little bit of improvement to do here. Alright, and then just for ergonomics and reduce my hot spots, I'm coming in here and breaking any of those potentially hard edges that I may have created while sanding that down. Guys, it's looking okay to me. Last one before we change belts. Wow, now that one is going to be rough. I'm actually going to do the underslack first. And you can see these areas, these light areas that are low areas. And I just apply minimal pressure and keep it moving along the length until that disappears. Let's see what happens here. Same deal. All right. Now I'm going to go for the top rotary. So just maintain that rotation. Now I am bringing that up onto the pewter because I don't want to have a lip between that pewter and that wood. One more. All right, just like that. Once more. Guys, give a shout out to Pete Vollmer for doing some camera work. He does a lot of camera work for us on our videos here, and it makes a world of difference on how everything's perceived, perception of the piece. You can actually start to see some of that prismatic chatoyancy there, and it's going to be real cool when we do that reveal. Keep in mind, I still got to sharpen the blades, and some of these have a little bit of gold tone to them, and that is from the tempering process. Some of them I've still got to clean down a little bit, and I'll do that just shortly. Oh, let's see. Let's start. Like I said, I'm using my worn belts for this. I'm not going to use my good belts for it because, one, they're going to remove too much material, and also they're going to get loaded up with handle material. So with this particular belt, which this is a maroon Scotch-Brite, a very worn one, I get these from Sean Ryan at Phoenix Abrasive. You can see I'm just keeping it moving, don't stop because you will dig a hole in whatever you were working on right there. All right. Take off my sharp edge. Everything's looking good. It's feeling good in the hand. It'll work. I'll clean that up with some light sandpaper and a lubricant. Right here, I'm going to come in for the top slack. Actually going to come down here just so I can get a little closer to that blade. And with each finer belt, I mean, this isn't real fine by any means, but with each belt, as we refine that finish on that handle, even before we've oiled it, you can start to see the grain come out, the natural beauty that's enhanced by these processes. It's not trying to improve the natural beauty of the material, it's literally just making it more stable and making it stronger. Although I do like the color. You got it. I mean, that's a nice color.
I'm having a hard time zooming.
Now, some people say, why aren't you hand sanding? Because the title of the video involves doing this quickly and efficiently. Having the right equipment allows me to not have to hand sand near as much. I expect this knife to probably be on the lower end of my sales tonight. But one way or another, I guarantee it will sell. If it doesn't sell tonight, I'll have it sold this week as I cycle it through my online auctions on Forge and Fire Knife Makers Marketplace or Cowboy Knife Auctions on Facebook. It could end up in the Etsy store, but chances are it'll be gone before it ever has a chance to get there. Alright, looking good so far. Coming to that halfway point right there, number 4 in the lineup. And you may notice that I changed my process up a little bit to where I'm using the serrated contact wheel to do the bolster, and then going into my refinement with slack grinding or slack sanding. It's stock removal, so it is grinding of some sort. And there we go, looking good, looking real good. Okay, now surpassing halfway point. I've got one more belt after this, and then it's going to be what we refer to as the reveal. And the reveal is what I really, really enjoy. The reveal is when you get to see all that color and all that pattern pop on those handles. It's a lot like when I'm doing Damascus steel and I take a clean piece of Damascus and I immerse it in ferric chloride and then bring it out after that first etch or so, and you get to see all that high contrast Damascus. Well, this is kind of a similar process. Looking okay. Once more, these are going to be on the lower end. They're just an auction item that happens to be a product from some of my other YouTube videos that you can check out on my channel. Be sure to like and subscribe. Alright, now I'm going to roll it on back. And these really aren't doing a whole lot. Oh man, I don't want to remove a lot of material. I just want to refine that surface. If you ever have like a small stone figurine that breaks or gets scratched, if you use some light abrasive and maybe use a lubricant with it like a light oil or perhaps Windex or something like that, something that's not going to react with it, but allow you to capture and use some of that fine abrasive dust that's produced when you are, what am I wanting to say, Pete? When you're going through the process of polishing, then you can get a higher finish. And all polishing is getting all the scratches going in the same direction. And try to get them the same size. Now on this one, it's being a bit of a bear. I've got a little bitty pock mark right there that really is not that big of a deal, but I'm still fighting it. Break that hard edge. That one's got a drop blade to it. Somebody's going to love that, I guarantee it. Still got to sharpen these guys. Last one before we go to the final belt right there. Alright, now you'll notice on this I'm rotating counterclockwise. So I'm rotating against the belt itself and rotating against the rotation, if that makes sense. And the reason I'm doing that is because it's adding more resistance, and I feel that I get a more controlled and even grind on that. Alright, now you're really starting to see those colors and all. Pete, you want to pan across there and check out some of those? Well, there's a natural beauty there, even if it's enhanced. Oh, wow, I'm covered in dust.
Mm.
uh, I am going to add some oil to it, and the oil really brings it to life, but I've got a little ways to go before I get there. Guys, once more, be sure to like and subscribe. Okay, so I'm going to use a ridiculously worn blue belt. I mean, you see how thin that is? Almost to the point where you go, are you sure it's safe to use? No, I'm not. But I'm going to use it anyway. It's held together so far, but majority of my abrasive material is very worn down. But what that means is that I'm going to remove a minimal amount without going to a higher grit. So right here, first things first, come in, and I'm going to hit the pewter. And that cleans up nicely. Come in, hit my little palm swell. And I'm going to rotate just a little bit longer on this. Now you may be noticing that it's kind of depositing some dark marks on this. Well, this thing has been used so much that it's got built-up handle material and such in there. A little bit of light passing may redistribute that. But I'm going to show you guys a trick with some acetone right before I do the oil, and that's going to help remove some of that sediment. I am going to take it down the spine just real quick.
The acetone doesn't react to the stabilized wood?
The acetone does not react to the stabilized wood in a negative manner, so it doesn't start to dissolve the resin in it, which in some resin, some plastics will be affected by acetone, but this generally is not. Now, if the formulation has been changed or a different resin has been used, I could completely contradict what I said, but in that case, what I would do is I would use something alcohol-based, maybe even a hand sanitizer, just something that would put this in a solution and make it just a little bit cleaner. Okay, so this, I'm actually going to just kind of hit it. A little on the other side. All right, looking good so far. Halfway point. Looking good so far. Looking real good. Now, I'm sure there's somebody out there who does more woodworking and handle finishing than me that could give a little better advice, or maybe some technique that even I myself would be interested in. If so, be sure to drop a comment. Alright, looking good. Let's do one more. I guess we got three more. Now you could do something very similar with the buffing wheel and go through different types of abrasive, different types of buffing compound to get to get a higher gloss finish, but something I kind of stick to on the handles is if I have a very polished handle, I'm going to have possibly one that's going to be harder to hold on to. So, well, this still has a little bit of grip. I kind of want to keep it that way. Of course, if somebody orders one that's much glossier, you know, customers always right. They're the one paying the bill. All right, coming in top here. Now, if I was hand sanding, I'd still be doing one of these handles. Using shoe shine method and everything else, and I used to do that. But when it comes down to it, I like to move things a little bit faster. And I like to make money. And time is money. Time is money, people. Now I do a cord shooter fitting technique here. But I'll tell you what, which would be really cool if it was brass, but it'd take a lot longer and in turn cost a lot more. All right, looking good. There we go. There's 8 of them. Just like that. Now, I'm going to come around to this side, and I will get some of my, oh, there's not much acetone left here. Well, then I'm going to get my hand sanitizer, because it will also put things in solution. Now, it'll look cool for a minute, and a minute is a stretch on things. It will look cool very briefly as I clean off the residue. This hand sanitizer is actually a good solution to get rid of your, you know, if you have ink on your hands or something, you can see how that really pops right there. And it's going to pop some more just shortly. Now, this isn't going to stay. You can see how that came off. And it's going to be quite dry again, but some of that chatoyancy starts to show. What I'm mostly using this for is to get some of that dark matter, not like dark matter from space, but some of that dark adhesive and some of that other stuff that's drying real quick because it's got alcohol in it. It's alcohol based. But what I'm doing is it's helping to remove the adhesive. It's acting as a solvent. And it's reasonably safe for me to use, you know. If I get it on my hands, it's not like hand sanitizer is not made to be put on your hands. Because, is it, Pete, or am I just missing out on something? I'm pretty sure hand sanitizer is made for use on a person's hands.
Yeah, I don't know. If it's got moisturizer in it, it might mess things up.
Yeah, it could potentially. Well, and the thing is, I'm going to oil these so that it's actually going to, I'm actually going to moisturize the handle with, of all things, a mixture of boiled linseed oil and baby oil, mineral oil, if you will. Okay, so what I'm doing, I'm just going through and cleaning off some of the extra junk that's on there.
You look really nice, Dustin.
It's coming along nicely. How's the camera looking?
I'm trying to hold it steady, but
oh, you're good.
And I'm trying to follow your hands so you can see what you're doing. I try zooming in and zooming out, but it's not easy.
Now Now, when I oil these, what I'll do is I'm actually going to use this rail over here, which gets saturated with oil because I do this so often. Um, and it also helps to preserve the rail. And there we go. All right, guys. Well, now it's going to be time for what I refer to as a reveal. We got kind of a soft reveal on that, but I'm going to stand back here if you want to come over this way.
All right.
Now, in some cases, I would go ahead and wear gloves. In this case, we're getting close to winter here in central Illinois, and sometimes you just have to moisturize. So I have what looks to be an old gravy boat that I was going to throw out that happens to be quite useful for holding oil and for applying. And it's almost like your gravy boat is meant to have a paintbrush in it, Okay, here we go. Reveal time, people.
Oh, wow, that's shined up real nice.
It works really well, and you can do multiple coats of this, and sometimes I'll do a wax coat on top. But right now, that oil is really enhancing it, and it's also, got a dry spot right there. There we go. It's also soaking into that material because it's not completely impermeable at this point, but it is a natural material that's been stabilized.
Can you hold it up, the difference between the two real quick?
Yeah, absolutely. So this is before and this is after.
All right.
And of course, I'll go through and I'll wipe these down after we have a little bit of soak time. And I just really like that. Really like the green.
It is pretty. The first one looks like a tropical fish to me.
It does. With that blue and everything, and then the stripes, it does. It does. All right, well, let's go for this the ugly duckling here.
Okay. Ooh.
And we can see some prominent banding as well as just some different flecks of natural coloration in there. And I said I was going to show you guys how to do this quickly and efficiently. Pete, what time are we at so far?
48 minutes.
All right, that's 8 pieces that will be done in under an hour. I'm going to say that's quickly and efficiently. Guys, be sure to like and subscribe. If there's if you'd like to leave a comment, leave a comment. Please keep it respectful because there's a lot of people who read those.
They do look nice.
Now, I used to do this, use this material unstabilized, and then I would use a dark walnut stain on it. And there were times that I would use a little bit of heat from a torch or usually a torch to enhance it. And with the just doing an oil coating, I got just kind of a nice honey brown color at a lot of times. That one's got a lot of activity in the handle itself. Just very, very cool stuff.
It looks like zebra stripes.
Yeah, it really does. A little bit of solidified oil right there. Sometimes the oil will kind of separate out because of the different densities. But for the most part, I really don't have a specific ratio that I mix it at. And I like to experiment with that because sometimes different types of linseed oil, like your light linseed oil, looks different than your regular, your standard, your dark linseed oil. And then mixing it with other types of oils can give it other, different properties. And at one point, we were thinning boiled linseed oil with mineral spirits, and that worked quite well. Okay, so here we go. Just going to go down through and clean that off. And what I'm likely to do next is to let these set for just a little bit, because I don't need a whole bunch of oil on that. It's only going to absorb so much. But if you were to have a finished handle like this, and let's say that it got abraded by some means, you dropped it or whatever, and you ended up with kind of a burr sticking up, a rough spot, then you could, in theory, you could sand it, apply some oil, and mix it back together. That if I polish that up real high, that would have a lot of activity. And that would go for all of these. But once more, as I said, if I have too slick of a handle, it's not going to work to my advantage on maintaining a grip. Now, these are not fighting knives. They're not meant for stabbing and thrusting and reverse grips. These are utilitarian pieces that not only look good on a belt, they function well in the hand. And a lot of these are probably going to end up being used for cowboy action, shooting costume work, as well as frontier reenactment like rendezvous, even though you probably wouldn't have had green and blue handles, but people still have their favorite colors. And I'll tell you what, I have sold so many purple-handled knives. Not too many yellows or oranges. I mean, I have done some, but I've done a lot of knives that have purple handles that, frankly, people are just kind of like, hey, I love purple. And it's like, hey, buy my stuff. So, and if you're interested in buying my stuff, be sure to check out the link to the Etsy store in the description. All right. There you go.
Looks really nice.
That looks better on camera than it does in reality.
Usually.
At least my reality.
Right.
Okay. So there you have it. I'm going to give it just a few for these to set up, because I have a total of, well, right now it's 444. There's an angel number for you. I've got a little over 2 hours before I have to worry about being ready for the auction. So I'm going to let this set. I'm going to let that cure for what it will. And we'll see you on the next round, guys. Be sure to like and subscribe. Hit that notification button. Check out the description. Leave me a comment. And you guys have a great day. We'll catch you later.